So hello students. So here we are gonna start the next part. Welcome to my channel. My name is Neil Ghosh and please do subscribe to my channel for further updates about the ISC class 11 and 12 history and geography. So we are gonna cover the next part of history and we have covered the first part in class 1. So here we're gonna start with the class 2 1.2 and the name of the chapter is Act and Working of Provincial Autonomy, Congress and Non-Congress Ministries. So, so let's begin with the chapter. So the topics we are going to cover today are the main features of provincial autonomy, number 2, election of 1937, working of the Congress ministries, and main development under non-Congress ministries. So the third roundtable conference The Third Roundtable Conference met at London in November 1932 without any representative of the National Congress. Means without any representative, the Third Roundtable Conference had been held at London 1932 in November 1932. And there was a discussion किसके बारे में discussion हुआ passing the Act of Government of India Act 1935. This act established a federation of India made of British Indian provinces and Indian states and provided for autonomy with a government responsible to elected legislature in every province. तो यहाँ पर जो main बात है कि this act established a federation of India which made of ब्रिटिश इंडियन प्रोविंसेस, मतलब कि जो इंडियन प्रोविंसेस और जो इंडियन स्टेट्स है वो एक सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट रहेगा जिसके अंडर स्टेट रहेगा और स्टेट वो सब प्रोविंसेस को वो सब पार्ट्स को कंट्रोल करेगा जो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के अंडर में होगा and would remain the elected legislature who will control the elected legislature in every province. In provinces, minister would control the elected legislature in every province. In provinces, minister would control the department and would remain responsible to legislature. In province, minister would control the department and it would remain responsible to the legislature. The governor has the special executive power to pass executive power which they could exercise before passing the bill. मतलब बिल पास होने से पहले गवर्नर जनरल का एक पावर रहता है कि बिल पास होने से पहले जो भी चेंजेस करना पड़ता है वो सब इट कम्स अंडर द पावर ऑफ द governor special powers. It comes under the governor special executive powers. The governor were to be aided. The governor were to be aided by whom? By the council of ministers. The member of provincial legislative assemblies were to be elected directly by the people. हमने जो पढ़ा था पहले कि what is a constitution? A constitution is made up by a number of group of constituent assembly members and the assembly members have been selected directly by the people, for the people and of the people. तो वही बताया गया है. The franchise was based on property qualification, separate electorate system and system of weightage was retained. The federal structure of the government was composed of the governor general and a council of ministers. It was a bicameral legislature. The council of bicameral legislature का मतलब क्या है? Council of States and House of Assembly. In the Council of States, the representative of the native states were to be appointed directly by the rulers. मतलब जो काउंसिल ऑफ स्टेट है उसका जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव है वो रूलर से डायरेक्टली सिलेक्ट करेंगे, डायरेक्टली अपॉइंट करेंगे. In the Department of Foreign Affairs, Defense were reserved exclusively for the Governor General. In this way, the diarchy was introduced at the center. Thus, the Act of 1935, this Act of Government of India Act of 1935 was refused by three major political parties, or we can say the political parties are by the princely states, by the princes, the Congress and the Muslim League, for three different reasons. What reasons have been given by three of them? So let's read it. Muslim League कहा है कि they would try to give it a trial, so they would try to send it on a trial. Congress condemned the act, but they were not ready to take part in the provincial portion. Of course, it is under protest. Both Congress and League participated in the election of 1937. The federal part was never introduced, but the provincial part was put into operation very soon. In the election of Government of India Act, the mandate of the people came in favor of the Congress. The Congress swept polls so far as general Hindu seats were concerned. Out of 38 seats reserved for the Labour, Congress contested 20 seats and won 18 seats. 482 seats were reserved as Muslim seats. तो यहाँ पर नंबर ऑफ सीट्स के बारे में क्या गया है ये आप इजीली थॉरली रीड कर लेंगे तो आपको पता चल जाएगा. And Congress contested 58 seats, out of which they have won 26 seats, and out of 26 seats 19 seats were in NWFP. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है कि उन्होंने 19 सीट्स जीता कहाँ पर, नॉर्थ वेस्ट फ्रंटियर प्रोविंस. कांग्रेस को एक भी सीट नहीं मिला, कांग्रेस को एक भी सिंगल मुस्लिम सीट नहीं मिला बॉम्बे पे, सीपी, उत्तर प्रदेश, सिंध एंड बंगाल. एंड द कांग्रेस हैव कॉन्टेस्टेड इन 8 सीट्स एंड कुड विन ओनली 3 इन सीट्स. सो ये सब थोड़ा थॉरली पढ़ लीजिएगा. तो हम नेक्स्ट पार्ट में चलते हैं जो कि बताएगा इन बंगाल एंड NWFP, मतलब कि वहाँ से थर्ड लाइन. इन बंगाल, NWFP, Assam and Bombay, the Congress emerged as the single largest party. Very important point to be noted down. On the other side, the Muslim League was not in a better position. Muslim League got only 2 seats out of the 84 reserved seats. That's the Congress formed ministries in 7 provinces out of 11, and Muslim League did not get a single seat in NWFP, Northwest Frontier Province. And the coalition ministry was also formed in 2 other provinces. So only Bengal and Punjab had non-Congress ministries. So there is a table given the name of the province, total number of seats owned by Congress. It is not necessary, it is not mandatory. Moving to the next part. In Bengal, Assam, Bombay and NWFP, Congress thus emerged as the single largest party. The Congress ministries, the Congress decided conditional acceptance. So you will now ask कि conditional acceptance क्या है. Condition was that governor would not use their special power to intervene in the functioning of minister in any way. कि governor अपना जो special power है वो use नहीं कर सकते हैं in the functioning of ministers in any way. Congress was a tremendous one because the task before the Congress was because of high expectation of people. Congress had to function with limited powers and to work under the approval of the Governor General. In spite, Congress ministries introduced a number of popular reforms. तो उन्होंने कुछ reform create किया, कुछ reform तैयार किया. Activities of the Congress ministries. What were the activities of Congress ministries? So we have done up with the parts. The main features of the Provincial Autonomy, election of 1937 and what was the result of it, as Congress won with a number of seats. Working of the Congress ministries. Now we will come to the working of the Congress ministries. So, activities of the Congress ministries. The Congress was committed to release all political prisoners through the intervention of Gandhiji. 1100 detainees of Bengal were released. Means prisoners, criminal of Bengal were released. In UP, many prisoners, including Kakori prisoners. Who are the Kakori prisoners? The conspiracy or the robbery prisoner. मतलब जो चोरी करते हैं, छोटा छोटा मर्डर करते हैं, उनको बोलते हैं काकोरी प्रिजनर्स. तो उनको भी रिलीज कर दिया गया क्योंकि ये सब स्टेट के अंडर में पड़ता है. जब भी कोई प्रिजनर सेंट्रल के अंडर में गया तो उसके ऊपर कांग्रेस का कोई इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं रहता है. कांग्रेस कैन नॉट release them out. So we'll read in the further part. The Congress leaders, in the third number point, the Congress leaders also worked for removing the restriction on political exiles like Raspberry Bose, Prithvi Singh, Maulavi Abdullah Khan, Abani Mukherjee and others. But they could not do much in this respect. The prisoners who were being imprisoned by central government could not be released from Andaman jails. So यहाँ पर वही कहा गया कि जो भी प्रिजनर अंडमान जेल्स में हैं उनको रिलीज नहीं किया गया क्योंकि वो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के अंडर आते हैं. सस्पेंशन ऑर्डर ऑन पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज एंड सिमिलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वर रिवोक्ड. द प्रेस वाज ग्रांटेड द राइट ऑफ फ्री क्रिटिसिज्म. द कांग्रेस मिनिस्ट्रीज इन मद्रास remitted, cancel the pending loans taken by the peasants from the government. मतलब कांग्रेस मिनिस्ट्री इन मद्रास कैंसिल कर दिया, ये रिजेक्ट कर दिया ये एलिगेशन कि उन्होंने लोन लिया है पीजेंट से, वर्किंग क्लास ने लोन लिया है गवर्नमेंट से. ये पूरा रिजेक्ट कर दिया, ये अप्रूवल, ये एलिगेशन रिजेक्ट कर दिया. इन बॉम्बे एंड यूपी द इंटरेस्ट ऑन एग्रीकल्चरल लोन्स वाज रिड्यूस्ड. द बॉम्बे मिनिस्ट्री पास्ड in 1938 the Industrial Dispute Act and wages of mill hands were increased. License for selling intoxicating drugs was restricted. The peasant problem was a burning issue. The formation of Congress ministries had generated a new hope amongst the peasantry. So the occupant tenancy legislation was taken up in all Congress ruled provinces. So what is the meaning of tenancy? Occupancy legislation was taken up in the ऑल कांग्रेस रूल प्रोविंसेस। तो ये जो 10 पॉइंट है ये आप इजीली थॉरली पढ़ सकते हैं, ये थोड़ा पढ़ लीजिएगा। एवरीवेयर एफर्ट्स वर मेड टू प्रोटेक्ट द पीजेंट्स फ्रॉम द क्लचेस ऑफ मनी, फ्रॉम द ग्रिप ऑफ मनी फ्रॉम द लैंड होल्डर्स, लेंडर्स, इरिगेशनल फैसिलिटीज वर इंक्रीज्ड in the future. Actually this was a period of tremendous awakening among the peasants and they stood behind Congress. वो कांग्रेस को सपोर्ट कर रहे थे। What are the laws passed for the workers? The Congress had always promised a better working condition for the workers. Naturally, the Congress in October 1937 appointed a labor committee. उन्होंने एक labor committee को appoint किया and the Indian Congress Committee accepted it. What were the programs? These included holiday with pay, leave with pay during sickness, employment insurance to fix minimum wages and recognition of trade unions. So ये 5 पॉइंट है जो आप थोड़ा अच्छे से नोट डाउन कर लीजिएगा। So moving to the next part, the Bombay Ministry took up the cause of labor and introduced industrial dispute bill to prevent strike and lockouts as far as possible. मतलब जो बॉम्बे मिनिस्ट्री है उन्होंने कॉज लिया, क्या कॉज लिया? कॉज ऑफ लेबर एंड इंट्रोड्यूस इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट बिल। इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट बिल को इंट्रोड्यूस किया किसके कॉज पे? लेबर के कॉज पे, ताकि स्ट्राइक एंड लॉकआउट्स कैन बी reduced as far as possible. But this gave a strong signal to the workers who went on strike. This movement was suppressed with the help of police authority. Important event was a massive worker strike in Kanpur where 24,000 workers went on strike demanding higher wages and better living condition. Ultimately, the dispute was settled by the ministry. So, another important event was a massive worker strike in Kanpur where 24,000 workers went on strike demanding higher wages and better living conditions. तो strike किस वजह के लिए था? Especially for demanding higher wages, better living condition of the worker section, etc. In Bengal, Congress supported the jute mill strike. बंगाल में जो jute mill strike हुआ वो support किया कांग्रेस। In Tisco, worker strike at Jamshedpur, Jawaharlal Nehru and Rajendra Prasad acted as arbitrators between Tata authority and the workers. During this period, another important feature was increased as the leftist influence on the working class. In all Congress ruled provinces, a vigorous campaign was launched in favor of prohibition of khadi and hand spinning. मतलब एक prohibition, एक opposition of opinion create हुआ था खादी एंड हैंड स्पिनिंग के फेवर में. At the initiative of Congress, an all India National Education Conference was organized at Wardha. Wardha कहाँ पर है? मुंबई in October 1937. The conference prescribed free and compulsory education throughout the country for 7 years. मतलब ये conference में क्या prescribe किया गया कि free and compulsory education should be provided to the education will be provided to the student throughout the country for 7 years. 7 साल के लिए education free में provide किया जाएगा. Mother tongue as the medium of instruction and vocational training. In number of provinces, they were taken up to put some scheme into action. What are the schemes? The major achievements. Some scheme into action. तो कुछ scheme introduce किया गया जो एक्शन में लाने का बात चल रहा था. तो कुछ मेजर अचीवमेंट्स कांग्रेस का क्या क्या है? रिडक्शन ऑफ सैलरीज ऑफ द मिनिस्टर, वेलफेयर स्कीम फॉर द ट्राइबल्स, जेल रिफॉर्म्स एंड डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ फंडामेंटल राइट्स. सो ये 4 पॉइंट आप प्लीज नोट डाउन कर लीजिएगा, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. तो मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट पार्ट एंड द लास्ट टॉपिक of this class will be main developments under non-Congress ministries. What were the main developments under non-Congress ministries? So let's begin with it. According to the Government of India Act 1935, 2 new provinces were created. Namely, what are the 2 new provinces? Sindh and Odisha. Though Congress formed ministers in a number of states, in some states non-Congress ministries were also formed. Though Congress formed ministers in a number of states, उसके बावजूद भी क्या हुआ? इन सम स्टेट्स नॉन कांग्रेस मिनिस्टर भी तैयार मतलब फॉर्म्ड हुआ एज वेल एज विद द कांग्रेस मिनिस्ट्रीज. इन बंगाल, फजलुल हक invited Congress to cooperate in the formation of coalition government. Congress refused Fazlul Haq join hands with the Muslim League. कांग्रेस ने रिफ्यूज कर दिया फजलुल हक को और किसके साथ ज्वाइन किया? मुस्लिम लीग के साथ. In Sindh, Congress supported Ministry of Ghulam Hussain Hidayatullah and in Assam Gopinath Bardaloil. In Punjab, तो ये सिंध का बात हुआ. पंजाब में क्या हुआ? इन पंजाब द कांग्रेस वाज नॉट इन अ पोजीशन टू प्ले डोमिनेंट रोल. पंजाब में कांग्रेस इतना डोमिनेंट पोजीशन में नहीं था, यही बात कहा जा रहा है. Non-Congress ministries of Bengal and Punjab also passed several measures for improving material condition of the people. उन्होंने बहुत मेजर पास किया to improve the material condition of the people. किस कहाँ पर? Non-Congress ministries of Bengal and Punjab. In Bengal, Fazlul Haq Ministry took an important step and formed Land Revenue Commission. फजलुल हक ने बंगाल में एक इनिशिएटिव स्टेप लिया, क्या? लैंड रेवेन्यू कमीशन, मतलब लैंड का कमीशन देना चाहिए। जो भी लैंड होल्ड करते हैं, प्राइवेट ओनरशिप हो, लैंड होल्डर्स हो, उनको एक रेवेन्यू देना चाहिए। एट द एंड ऑफ द ईयर उनको एक कमीशन देना चाहिए गवर्नमेंट को। A number of arbitration committees were formed to settle the dues of rights with the landlords. Bengal Tenancy Act was also amended to relieve the rights. So it's the मतलब बंगाल अमेंड किया कि राइट्स रिलीव करना चाहिए। राइट मीन्स राइट्स एंड स्ट्राइक आउट्स जो हमने बोला था, लॉकआउट्स एंड स्ट्राइक आउट, सो एटसेट्रा द सेम सिमिलर मीनिंग. So the last part, assessment of the activities, it was not into our syllabus, so we'll deduct it. So up to this, what I have taught you, up to this was the syllabus for our 2023, and we'll come to the short questions of this chapter. So let's begin with it. So get ready with your pencil and pen, whatever you want to write with. So ready? So let's begin. So the first question is, what was the main change introduced by the Government of India Act 1935 at the provincial level? What was the change? So obviously the Federation of India, this was the change mainly imposed on the Government of India Act of 1935. State one provision of Government of India Act of 1935. What was the provision? The main provision was the number of provincial legislative assembly were to be elected directly by the people. मतलब जो जो वही बता कि नंबर ऑफ लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली कौन इलेक्ट करेगा कॉमन पीपल, डायरेक्टली बाय द पीपल. Why did federal scheme introduced by the Government of India Act 1935 never come into operation? Why? Because the federal scheme introduced by the Government of India never come into operation because the Prince, the Congress and the Muslim League have their own reasons to reject the Federation of India conducted by the Government of India. उन लोगों ने रिजेक्ट कर दिया, इसलिए तो वो स्कीम इतना ऑपरेशन में नहीं आ पाया. What was the meaning of conditional acceptance? So what you have read the conditional acceptance? The Governor General cannot use its executive powers, its special powers to intervene the functioning of the ministers in any way. So you will write the definition. It was given up there. Mention two provinces where non-Congress ministries were formed. What were the two provinces? Bengal and Punjab. What was the fate of tenancy bill in UP? What is the fate of tenancy bill in UP? The tenancy bill in UP is to replace the UP urban buildings and according to letting, rent and eviction according to the Act of 1972. What was the industrial dispute bill? It was introduced to prevent strike and lockouts as far as possible. It was given in the book. In which provinces Congress emerged as the single largest party? In the provinces of Assam, Bengal, NWFP, Northwest Frontier Province and Punjab, as it was given in the page number 14. Where does Congress emerged as the single largest party? In Bengal, Assam, Bombay and NWFP. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. It's not Punjab, it's Bombay. Bombay, NWFP, Northwest Frontier Province, Bengal and Assam. Which Congress leaders worked as arbitrators between the workers and the TISCO authority, Jawaharlal Nehru and Rajendra Prasad? Jawaharlal Nehru and Rajendra Prasad. Why did Congress ministers resign in 1939? The Congress ministry resigned in 1939 on war issue. So what was the issue? Congress realized that the Viceroy had involved India in the Second World War without consulting the central legislature and provincial government. मतलब उनको लगा कि वाइसरॉय ने इन्वॉल्व किया इंडिया को इन द सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर विदाउट कंसल्टिंग विद द सेंट्रल लेजिस्लेचर एंड प्रोविंशियल गवर्नमेंट. So the broad type question we will do in the next class and come to the short question of chapter 1.1. So let's begin. Mention name of two Congress leaders who had socialist leanings. Who were them? Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose. In which session the Congress Jawaharlal elaborated his socialist ideas? In Lucknow and Faizpur session. Why Congress was sharply divided into leftist and rightist camp? Due to the presidency of Subhash Chandra Bose. Subhash Chandra Bose got a presidency, but he refused it, so it was divided into the leftist and the rightist camp. So you will write due to the presidency. Who was M.N. Roy? M.N. Roy was popularly known as Narendranath Bhattacharjee. M.N. Roy was uh, was an active worker. What you will write? Emin Roy was an active worker in Anushlan Samiti. He was also been arrested due to political boundary to raise fund from for the secret society. He was contributed in outsourcing the British from India. He has also tried for help for Germany with arms and further China to Sanya and went to Sun Yat-sen, who took shelter in Japan. He had a difference of opinion with Stalin, but with a similar difference of with a similar opinion of Jugantar Patel Gandhiji. So we'll write with the book as it was given. Where was the first formed the Communist Party of India outside the country? Where it was first formed in Tashkent 1920. Outside the country it was first formed in Tashkent in 1920. So name some of the socialist person within the Congress party: Ram Manohar Lohia, Jayaprakash Narayan and Narendranath Bose. Narendranath Dev, sorry. Narendranath Dev, Patvardhan Sitaramaya, etc. You can give any of the two or three, or you can give all the names. So Ram Manohar Lohia, Jayaprakash Narayan, Narendra Dev and Patvardhan Sitaramaya. Who formed Congress Socialist Party within the Congress? Who formed Congress Socialist Party within the Congress? Same name you have to write. Ram Manohar Lohia, Jayaprakash Narayan, Narendranath Dev and Patvardhan Sitaramaya. When was the Congress Socialist Party formed? What was its objective? The Congress Socialist Party was formed in 1934, and its main objective is to carry on national struggle with the help of peasant and the working class. So moving on to the next part, what was the name of the party founded by Subhash Chandra Bose? The name of the party founded by Subhash Chandra Bose was Forward Bloc. After he had a difference of opinion with Gandhiji. Who what who was, I was telling for explanation, no need to write it. You will only write the name of the party, that is Forward Bloc. Who was Shashipada Banerjee? He a radical Brahmo, founded the Working Men's Club. One word answer, 1 mark, so you will write to the point. Which journal was published by him? Bharat Shramjivi. Bharat Shramjivi, or we can also tell it as Indian Worker in 1874. So you can write any of them, or you can write both of them. Bharat Shramjivi or Indian Worker in 1874. So up to 11 we have completed. So we'll continue with in the next class the remaining part and the broad questions. So that's all for today. We have covered all the parts given up here. So meeting you up with the next class. See you on the next class. So till then, keep learning and keep exploring. Thank you.